Hi, I'm Chef Matt. This is Chef Michael from Abercrombie. Welcome to the USU kitchen. We miss you guys. We're going to show you a few tips and tricks of some beautiful dishes from Abercrombie. So what are you going to cook for us now, Michael?
We're going to do a chicken stir fry with oyster sauce. So it looks like a lot of ingredients, but some things are optional, but this is just what I like to do. And I've also modified it so that it's easy to cook at home. You use minimal equipment, and there's less steps as well compared to what they do in restaurants. So the ingredients today, like I said, not everything is required, but this is what I'm using today. So I've got chicken, obviously. Thigh or breast, doesn't matter, it's to your personal preference. I prefer thigh. So I've got that sliced, there's about 200 grams there. I've got some red capsicum. It's about half a red capsicum, about a third of a zucchini. Green beans, about, say, a handful. It's about 60 grams there, if that's more. If that makes more sense. You've got carrot, it's about half a carrot there, and some onion, red, brown, doesn't matter, and that's about half an onion. Sauces and other flavorings, we've got some ginger. I'll probably use about half a teaspoon, crushed garlic, about teaspoon, half teaspoon, just depends on personal preference as well. We've also got here some light soy, as you can see there. We've got some sweet soy, take that one, oyster sauce, which is the key component of the oyster sauce stir fry. We've also got sesame oil, some stock powder. This one is chicken stock powder, but it's actually vegetarian. And that is some cooking wine, some Shaoxing cooking wine, and a little bit of water. Okay, so the thing with stir fries is you kind of want everything to come together at the very end, so I kind of prepare them in parts. So usually my stir fries consist of protein, which is the chicken today, veg, and the sauces. So the first thing I'll do is I'll prepare the protein, so I'll marinate the chicken. So what I'll use is, this is about a teaspoon of light soy. I'll use about a quarter teaspoon of stock powder. That's optional, but I just like it, gives it a little bit extra flavour. I've got about a quarter teaspoon of sesame oil. This is cooking wine. How much have I got there? That's a full teaspoon. Okay, and I'll add, this one is ginger. So about half a teaspoon ginger. And I like my stir fries to be quite garlicky, so I'll use about a full teaspoon. And just give that a mix.
So Michael, how long does it have to marinate for, roughly?
To be honest, it doesn't have to marinate that long, because once you cook it, all the flavour will come out anyway. But if you want, you can marinate it for a few hours before, or I try not to marinate too long with the cooking wine and the garlic. Sometimes I feel it goes a bit weird if they sit together too long. Sure, it goes a little bit sour. Okay, so that's the protein part done. So the next part I'll get together is the veg. So I break veg up into two different types. Types that can be stir-fried straight away, and stuff that needs to be boiled or blanched first. And it's important that with stir-fries, you want all your veg to be cooked to doneness, but they need to come together at the same time, so you have to start cooking some earlier than others. So what I'll do is I'll put the carrot and the green beans together. So carrot needs to be cut, this is about 4mm cut, and I've cut it that thin just so that it cooks in the same time as the green beans. So I'll put this into boiling water. That won't take long. I'll take about maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It all depends on personal preference. If you like your veg to be softer, cook it longer. And so while that's cooking, I've got, so at home I don't actually use a wok for my stir fries, because I find woks really hard to use if you don't have a really good wok burner. So I've got about a tablespoon of oil, maybe 1.5. So I like to use non-stick fry pans, because it means you can you get a better surface area for the heat, and also it just means that the protein doesn't stick to it as much. If you're cooking with woks or stainless steel, it's really hard to get proteins not to stick to it, and that makes the stir frying a lot harder. So the ingredients that I can stir fry together: onions, capsicum, zucchini. Just so you know, I'm not cooking them completely. I'm cooking till about 90% done, because they'll finish in the stir fry at the end. So I just want a little bit of colour in this veg. don't know if you can see it, I kind of get that browning on the veg, and that's what I want. That brings out more flavour from the vegetables. And another important thing with stir fries is you don't want to overload the pan. Sometimes when you cook at home you get excited, you put heaps of stuff in. It doesn't have enough contact with the pan, and then things start to stew, and that's when you get quite wet, sloppy stir fries. Okay, so that's looking good. Turn that down for a touch while I grab the veg here. So it's still quite firm. I like firm, so I'll put that in. I'll just put it in the serving dish, set it aside. Meanwhile, that's starting to look good. That's starting to soften nicely. Put some good colour there. And so I put the veg together now. So they're ready to go into the stir fry together. In the meantime, before I start cooking the protein, just to make things easier so you're not kind of at the last moment trying to get all your sauces together, I like to make the sauce now. So it's quite simple. It's just use oyster sauce. So there's about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons in there. Sweet soy, that's about 1.5 tablespoons, and just a little bit of water to thin it out a bit. So there's about 1 tablespoon in there. So just give that a good mix. Now it's all personal preference really. If you like your stir fries to be sweeter, you can use more sweet soy, or you can just use sugar instead of sweet soy. It's up to you, whatever you have at home. If you like it to be saltier, then yeah, go more oyster sauce. But oyster sauce is quite strong, so you don't want to make it too salty, and it'll reduce a little bit in the pan as you cook. So that's a sauce ready. So now we can cook the protein. So go back to your fry pan, add a touch more oil, turn that up to max. Thanks, that works. A little bit louder so it gets a nice sizzle sound.
They cut these quite small, so
yeah.
How long do you think it'll take for them to cook?
Probably about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah. Probably 3 minutes. The reason I like these thighs because it's more resilient. It doesn't dry out as quickly as breast, so you can cook it longer. And I find it's got a higher fat content, so I just prefer the flavour of it as well. So at Abercrombie, we only use chicken thigh for our stir fries. So as you're getting some colour on the chicken, keep an eye on if it's starting to burn the garlic and ginger, then turn it down because you don't want that to start to go bitter if it burns. Okay, so now it's getting there. It's probably about like 60% done now, so I'll turn it down a touch. If I can see the flame, yep. I'll turn that down a little bit. I'll add the sauce now. And I'll finish cooking the chicken in the sauce, like that. If you find your sauce is drying out a bit, then you can always add a little bit more water. Which I think I might actually do. I'll just add a touch. I can actually just add a touch of the boiling water there. Try to add some more flavour. A little bit more, add another teaspoon there. So in a lot of Chinese restaurants, they like to thicken their stir fries with cornstarch, or mostly cornstarch, but I at home can't be bothered with that, so I just do it this way. So the sauce is kind of at a consistency I like, and there's no need to mess around with mixing a cornstarch slurry to thicken your sauce. So when the chicken looks like it's pretty much done, I'll turn it back up. So now veg can go in. I'm just going to combine everything now. So I like my stir fries to be quite dry. But if you want a saucier stir fry, then by all means, add more water. And if you find that the flavour is not strong enough, you can always add more of the other ingredients, like the oyster sauce. And once it's nice and combined, all the veg is covered, it's ready for dishing up. And just as I said before, you don't want to overload your pan, so this is good. Pretty much everything is kind of sitting on one level on the fry pan. They all can have even contact to the heat. Okay, and we'll plate up. Thanks Matt for the clean plate. That smells beautiful. And a piece of equipment I really like to use at home is like if you can get these spatulas with the rubber heads. I quite like using those to cook because they're just better for getting into corners of pans and getting all the sauce out. And so there we go.
So that pan you got there,
yeah,
where'd you get that one from?
That's actually a Kmart pan. It's not a plug for Kmart, but they actually have really good equipment for the kitchen. So that pan is about $25, and it's quite sturdy. It's good non-stick.
And that's what you use over at Abercrombie as well, don't you?
Yeah, we actually have a few of those at Abercrombie because I just find they're just as good as the expensive ones.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's it. Serve with jasmine rice as well. There you have it. It's a chicken stir fry with oyster sauce.